Ananth, good morning and thank you so much for taking the time out this early in the morning. What's your sense now, Ananth? From the money market perspective, I think the bond markets were getting rattled at what if there is a large stimulus coming. If what the CA said yesterday is the course of action, then we may not have that coming. Bad for equities maybe, not as bad for bonds?
Yeah, it's a tough spot, Neeraj, and morning to everybody. Look, the reality is while the market waits for a fiscal package or some kind of palliative in what clearly looks like very, very tough times, we have to remember that the fiscal situation isn't looking good, and we really don't know how much space is available for any kind of meaningful stimulus packages at this point in time. For the last 2 years, the actual real fiscal deficit numbers are far higher than what has been declared so far. Even for the last year, FY19, while the government says it managed to meet 3.4% of fiscal deficit, the reduction in tax collections and the off-balance sheet management of Food Corporation of India bills, of bonds issued serviced by GOI, and the ratcheting up of distribution company debt on the state level. All of this portends that the actual real fiscal deficit is far higher than the 3.4%. It's probably closer to 4.5% for last year and could be the same for this year as well. Now, of course, we have a new paradigm globally right now where every other country seems to be doing the same thing, having monetary easing as well as fiscal easing at the same time. So the pertinent question which could be asked is, why not we do the same thing? Why don't we spend a little more from our fisc? The starting point, though, has to be a recognition of what the real math looks like, and a recognition that past experiments of fiscal and monetary easing have not ended well for India. 2012, 2013 should be fresh in our minds. Too much of fiscal spending, too much of monetary easing at the same time can lead to higher imports, can deteriorate the current account deficit, and can therefore also lead to outflows of dollars when the confidence breaks in the system. So it's a kind of funny situation, Neeraj, that we have to be careful about. I think at this point in time, the currency is buffeted by a few things. One is clearly there is a bit of crisis of confidence. FII monies has been going out in drips and drabs, but nevertheless steadily throughout the course of August and even before that. Second, the global context is not looking great. You have the Chinese yuan, which is well above 7 now, and the dollar has been strengthening as well. And from a real effective exchange rate perspective, India continues to be overvalued. Rupee continues to be overvalued. So that's kind of hitting us at one level. For bonds, of course, the dovishness of the RBI helps, and that's great news. But the questions about the nature of the fiscal balance and the fact that the government eventually has to borrow, if not directly, then indirectly through other entities, is keeping bond markets nervous as well. All in all, not a great sign. The good news, though, Neeraj, is there are ways out. We don't have to just waste our time only talking about a fiscal package or a monetary easing. There are real reforms which can actually address the core issues we have in our banking sector, NBFC sector, power sector, manufacturing, and factors of production sector. All of these are real reforms which we should be spending time on rather than only talking about monetary and fiscal easing. To answer your question, long story short, money markets will continue to be nervous. Fundamental confidence is not looking great. Fundamental factors aren't looking great. I still think we will do well eventually, as long as we proceed on the path of real difficult reforms rather than just concentrating on the painkillers.
And therefore I'll wrap this with one question to both of you, and Ananth, to you first and then to you, Ajay. I'm sure there are ways, and social media is agog with the quantum of opinion coming out about how to go about fixing the economy. Raghav wrote a piece yesterday about the 9 things that can be done in Navratri for rebooting the economy, and I'm sure both of you have an opinion or two about this. My question is, the government obviously knows this. There is, in the eyes of some people, Ananth, a bit of a delay in making measures or taking steps which can be quick fixes or immediate fixes. Why is that? And is there something that can be done as a quick fix right now to just soothe the nerves which are clearly frayed?
I'm adding to the cacophony, I realize, but I will do it since you asked me, Neeraj. The starting point, I would say, is don't look for quick fixes. That is always going to give you the suboptimal solution. We have to take those hard, tough reforms. If you look back at the budget of July of 1991, when Dr. Manmohan Singh rose after the crisis in 1991, that was path breaking. The time is ripe right now for a similar path breaking kind of set of steps to be taken. And we don't have to wait for a crisis. So my suggestion would be, don't look for quick fixes. There are structural issues in this economy which need to be addressed. Start with stuff like banking. We know the banking system is still hurting. The NPA resolution is not coming through despite a great insolvency and bankruptcy code. We probably need to ponder ways in which we can isolate the bad debt separately, get the banks to start worrying about new business rather than the gross NPAs. We have to find a way in which the NBFCs can be resolved. We have to find a way in which banking reform can come through. Power sector. I mean, this is a can that has been kicked down the road for ages now. We have to find a way in which we can resolve that as well. All this calls for hard reform. Finally, on manufacturing, etc., you need land reform, you need labor reform, you need capital reform. None of these are easy, Neeraj. The reason why I think we are kind of hesitating to doing all this is going to be painful. This is going to be really hard, and these call for tough decisions. My only point is the government today has plenty of political capital. It's the best place to take steps like this. I do hope eventually we go down that path rather than saying, oh, this is like boiling the ocean, too tough, let's avoid this, and let's get back to a fiscal or a monetary easing and then hope for the best. I don't think just these palliatives and painkillers will help. We have to go in for hard reforms. I wish and pray that we don't wait for a 1991 type of crisis before we embark on them. I hope we do it on our own rather than waiting for a crisis.